Welcome to the Steering Change podcast, navigating through the commercial transportation industry in Alberta and beyond, powered by the Alberta Motor Transport Association. Here's your host, Kelsey Hipkin.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to Steering Change. For any of our listeners who regularly travel the Highway 3 corridor between the BC border down to Medicine Hat, you know there can be frustrations when it comes to travel for commercial transport or the motoring public alike. For the last decade or two, there have been improvements in the way of passing lanes and some twinning in the name of aiding traffic flow. In today's episode, we'll deep dive into the highway history, including the 20 years the Highway 3 Twinning Development Association, or H3TDA, has been advocating for the roadway. H3TDA brings together municipalities, industry, and community partners with a clear mandate to advocate for the full twinning of Highway 3 and the infrastructure needed to support Alberta's agri-food, logistics, and industrial sectors. To learn more on the progress being made on Highway 3, as well as to talk commercial transportation and economic impacts, we're joined by H3TDA President and Mayor of Bow Island, Alberta, Gordon Reynolds, and AMTA Senior Vice Chair of the Board, Brad Beerling. As well, I'd like to welcome back co-host Josh Hannaberry, Senior Advisor, Strategic Partnerships with AMTA. Gordon, Brad, and Josh, welcome.
Welcome, Thanks.
Gordon, I'm going to start with you. Could you please tell us a bit about yourself and the work that you do with the Highway 3 Twinning Development Association?
Well, thank you. I'm the mayor of the town of Bow Island and a longtime member of the Highway 3 Twinning Development Association, and currently the president.
And how did you get into H3TDA?
Well, just was appointed initially before I became mayor. I've been on council quite a few years. I was appointed by council to be the representative for the community, and it's just been a bit of a long journey. Probably I've been at least 15 years, no, probably a little more than that, close to 20 years on the association.
Awesome. Thank you, Gordon. And Brad, can you tell us a bit about yourself and the work that you do in industry?
Thanks, Kelsey. Well, I am Senior Vice Chair of the AMTA Board of Directors, and also my paid job is that I am the Logistics Manager for Meridian Manufacturing, agricultural handling and storage provider with facilities in Lethbridge, Camrose, and Regina, among a few others. And if you don't know Meridian, we're primarily known for the big white grain bins you see across farms, fertilizer and seed plants, and other facilities throughout Alberta. And then I've also been on the board of Economic Development Lethbridge and the Canadian Institute of Traffic and Transportation, and have had contact with the Highway 3 Association throughout the years as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Brad. So let's get started with an easy one for you, Gordon. Can you tell me what is H3TDA and why was it created?
Well, Highway 3 Association initially was a loose coalition of municipalities along the corridor, quite informal, but they would meet from time to time and try and coordinate advocacy with the provincial government to improve Highway 3 and twin. And that's from border to border, from Crow's Nest Pass to Medicine Hat. Over time, that evolved and to a more formal setup after some strategic planning. We felt we were spinning our wheels a bit, and then created the new moniker, the Highway 3 Twinning Development Association, and with an eye beyond the safety aspect, which we were always pushing, and right from day one, that was the sole focus, and to realizing that we need to give the government some financial reasons to make this work, and what's the payback going to be? Why should they invest all this money beyond what's going to help generate the money that will pay for a massive project like this? And that became much more our focus. And then the last several years, we've really welcomed and glad to have people like Brad and his company as members as well. And well, there is a financial consideration for that, but what we're really after is their voice. We know that this government will listen to business, they will listen to industry, and they value that input, and so we're relying on groups like the AMTA, the various producer groups, and the individual companies to join our advocacy and anytime they're interacting with MLAs, ministers, the premier, you know, keep the push on for Highway 3.
Thank you. And Gordon, I'm going to stay with you. Safety is often the first benefit that people mention. What does the data tell us about how twinning has and could continue to improve safety along the corridor?
That's can be a bit of a complicated answer. Well, maybe not so much so, because it depends on the section itself. There's some areas where it will make a huge difference in terms of safety. Overall, it will make a difference. Previous safety or twinning projects in various parts of the province have shown as much as an 80% reduction in collisions. But the big thing would be fewer head-on collisions, which are often the most devastating, make for safer passing, and overall improved traffic flow and better movement of traffic and certainly of freight. And then, this time of year there's a lot of tourism traffic here across the south. Seeding time is busy. Harvest time is busy with not just vehicles but machinery and so on. So I think the twinned highway is definitely going to make it safer, and but it's not going to totally eliminate accidents for sure. But the real devastating ones we should be able to reduce greatly. And again, some of the studies I read, throw out the 80% number in places where it's currently bad.
It's fascinating. Yeah, Gordon, I appreciate the, we like stats and we like knowing that the work being done through advocacy and just the long-term relationships does impact, like safety is critical, but also the movement of goods and just the economic benefit too. So yeah, I really appreciate that. Brad, I'm going to ask this one to you. So from a carrier's perspective, what is it like operating commercial vehicles on the current 2-lane sections of Highway 3? And what safety challenges are you also seeing and your drivers seeing when they're on this corridor every day?
Well, with everything that our company does, it's oversized loads with height and then even some length with our augers and conveyors. Our dispatchers, drivers, our compliance team, and our pilot drivers, we plan our routes in advance, travel times, and we plan to avoid potential disruptions well before we actually travel the roads. And currently, there's even some sections of Highway 3 that we just avoid whenever possible due to the bottlenecks, the safety concerns. And with the amount of new business along that road, it's very careful as far as the in and outbound traffic turning off and onto that highway. We have, that's not just the heavy truck traffic, but the people that work at these facilities as well, the passenger traffic going in and out. A lot of them are in a hurry either to get to work or to get out of work, whatever the case may be. And then you got to deal with the farm equipment. Gordon mentioned already the farm equipment. And one thing that I see a lot of on this road, school buses. And I mean, that's always a concern. Worst thing possible is to have something to happen to any of the school bus traffic on our roads.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So when you said that like journey management's important, and when you said there's certain parts that right now you would avoid if at all possible, are those, from your knowledge, some of the areas that are getting worked on as well, so that it could, I guess, help streamline some of the business then?
I think some of the sections, if we can, the sections that they're working on right now, it's pretty much impossible based in Lethbridge to go to Saskatchewan without traveling those sections. But I mean, if there's ways around it, depending on what our destination is, we definitely look at other ways. And avoiding construction is one thing, but the two-way traffic and that with our wide loads, it's much better at times to take a less traveled pathway if we can.
Well, that's a good point. Okay, so then how would a fully twinned Highway 3 improve efficiency for, I'd say, your company, but also just other trucking companies that are in the area?
Well, less miles, the better. I mean, miles, kilometers, whatever you look at it, it's the safer, most efficient way is going to save us money as far as a trucking company, and in turn, save us all money economically. And that ideally, it's going to make the goods, which on our roads is primarily food products, hopefully a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate that. So, Gordon, from the economic impact, can you kind of share what you're seeing as once it's fully twinned, what economic impact is Highway 3 going to have in southern Alberta?
Well, a study that we commissioned with Price Waterhouse Coopers in 2022 indicated about during the construction, big impact, adding about $1.5 billion to the provincial GDP during construction, and direct and indirect jobs during that phase would be 12,500 jobs. Long term, obviously, not that many jobs, but probably at least, they're saying about $1 million a year from adding to the GDP by having just the highway twinned. That doesn't totally account for the potential increase for GDP by the new developments, whether it's agri-food processing, manufacturing, or whatever. And that's one of the things that we as an association are excited about, is the potential to further diversify an already very diversified economy in the South. The big focus is agriculture, agri-food, but the associated manufacturing, like Brad's company does, I think there's going to be businesses and industries start up that we haven't even thought about yet for the South. But by having that improved transportation, it's going to make a big difference. A big difference. One of the things that I'm impressed with this first section that's being done between Taber and Burdett is the bid went to an Alberta company. And there's a lot of the sub-trades are local, very local, and those that aren't are from Alberta. I can only think of one company that might have international ownership or partial ownership, but it's Alberta money being spent in Alberta and keeping that money in Alberta. So that sort of thing, as we continue on with more twinning sections, I think is going to be a real positive in the short and long term.
So I'm going to shift gears here a little bit, Gord. Both you and Brad have touched on the importance of, you have agricultural equipment. We know there's a lot of French fries, sugar beets, lots of food moving up and down the corridor. How important is it as a trade corridor when it comes to those goods connecting Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan, and the United States?
Well, from our perspective, Highway 3 has already been designated as part of the National Trade Corridor. It linking BC to the rest of the BC, Alberta through to the rest of the country. Going west, there's three major routes: Highway 3, Highway 16, and of course Highway 1. And then there are some routes up in the Peace River country that is predominantly oil and gas that moves back and forth. But going right across to the coast, this is one of the key routes. And then going east, Highway 3 obviously ends at Medicine Hat and links up with Highway 1. And it just really does make it a key component as well. Highway 3 intersects with the Canamex trade corridor, which runs through Lethbridge all the way to Edmonton, all the way to Alaska. And so we've got that companies have that ability to connect the north and south trade routes as well. Along with that, we can connect with Highway 36 and Highway 41 for that important Fort McMurray trade. This really has the potential to greatly improve our flow of goods east, west, north, and south.
Awesome. Thank you, Gordon. And Brad, from your perspective, whether it's through Meridian or through what you've been hearing from carriers as a member of the AMTA board, do you have thoughts on how important it is as a corridor connecting BC, Saskatchewan, and the U.S.?
I think looking at the western side, opening up BC is huge. The interior of BC, us as one carrier, we don't go that way. We're either going Highway 1 or we're going into the US, or depending on the size of our loads, having to go north. But the promotion, the day that we're at right now, it's keeping our money in Canada, keeping as much as possible, and giving us another route through BC, a better route, would be huge. And making it safer, twinning through into BC. If anyone has traveled the Crowsnest Pass area, weekends is horrible as far as passenger traffic goes, and us as commercial users pretty much try to avoid it. But if it were to be safely twinned, that would give us another option to move goods a lot more efficiently, keep our money in the interior, and also not bother that passenger traffic that wants to enjoy those mountains.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's my old fleet still runs there daily. And yeah, some of the challenges that, Brad, that you're just referring to, we're already in the season of tourism and stuff, which is awesome for our province, but challenging for commercial traffic. So I appreciate that feedback. So Gordon, from an agriculture and knowing that it's a major economic driver in southern Alberta, how are farmers and agri-businesses, how are they benefiting from the twin sections so far? And are they saying anything about the future just as the twinning continues? Is there any feedback that they're sharing?
Well, we've witnessed the improved developments between, say, Taber and Lethbridge, Taber all the way to Fort McLeod, that have occurred and are occurring ever since those sections were twinned, and I think the same sort of thing is possible. One of the stories I often share, when Cavendish Farms built their new plant in Lethbridge, it's a huge facility, but it's not fully utilized. Their intention is to double their capacity. However, and most of those new potatoes, a lot of them were coming from east of Taber. And at the time that they constructed the plant, and at the time that they right around the opening, they indicated to the province that what would drive that expansion, which would mean more production, doubling their production, would be a better trade corridor, the transportation corridor. They were very concerned about that. It's and we know that other companies are looking at not only potatoes but other products, which will certainly strengthen the ag economy in the south and help us get to where we do that true value added agriculture that's been talked about. I mean, I've been in agribusiness for my whole career, and that's always been the buzzwords. But it's hard to get there, and we've got to get away from just exporting raw materials all the time, and be able to add value and create those jobs here and create value for our producers. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to see things being manufactured in the south that we hadn't thought of. We're going to see even more diversity in our crops, and we have phenomenal diversity right now. If the processing ability is here, but to have that processing, we need to be able to have a good way to get those products from the farm gate to the processor, from the processor to the consumer, and this highway could play a big role with that. And I wonder if I could just add on something that Brad mentioned when you're talking about BC. We have a relationship with a similar group of municipal leaders across southern BC along the Highway 3 corridor there, and we're sharing information on how to advocate, and now we're also sort of coordinating a response to the feds. Highways are our provincial purview, but there's good reason for the federal government to invest in this sort of development as well. It's all well and good for us to twin up to Crowsnest Pass, but then we just end up with a bottleneck on the other side, and so we've got to support that push farther west as well.
I agree with a couple of things you just said there. So first, I'm going to go with the highway side. So I remember when the Kicking Horse Highway by Golden and the expansion that just finished there, and the the amount of opportunity that gave that region during the build. But now just knowing the movement of just, commercial traffic not being impacted by tourism in a bad way because there's not more than enough highway now. I can definitely see the same thing in BC on that stretch of highway. Because that was one of my thoughts too is, okay, great. It's safe. You get into BC, then what? Because that's an interesting pass to navigate through. So I'm glad there is counterparts in BC and then, working with the Fed. So that's good. The other point that I wanted to make, and you answered part of my question and I didn't want to interject though, was all of the supplementary opportunities that come. So as Canada Farms expands, well, that's more jobs. More jobs is going to drive additional people, which is going to drive additional demand. So it is exciting from, I'd say, my lens watching this take place. Just knowing that the opportunities are there. So I'm glad that you hit on that too. Thanks, Gordon. I appreciate that. So Brad, I know you mentioned costs and travel times initially, but I wondered if there's any specific examples you could give. So when when travel times are reduced, and that obviously leads into cost savings, say as fuel, is there any stats or anything like that do you know of that carriers listening could think of, okay, there's a true benefit for me to be transporting that way from a cost savings perspective that you're aware of?
I think the consistency and the reliability would be the biggest thing. I mean, I don't have the exact numbers, but I think we would see an improvement on time percentage. We'd see an improvement on on the transit time through the corridor where, if you are on a highly sensitive load that right now, maybe you're not taking that way, you're looking at alternative routes to make sure you're going to get there on time. But no, statistics I don't have a whole ton of. That's for you guys between Calgary and Edmonton that like to run all those numbers.
That's true. Okay, so let me pivot that question then. From a professional driver's perspective, and when Highway 3 is fully twinned, what do you think they would say that they would notice even immediately from what it is today?
I think one of the things would be the slowdowns, the farm equipment. Us and others, the wide loads, the overdimensional, it's not going to slow you down. You're not going to get stuck behind one, or at least a lot shorter time frame that you would be stuck behind something. You can count on that consistency.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, and I can hear the conversation, especially if a lot of your loads you need a pilot too, either front and rear. So I could hear that for sure.
For example, for us, I sent 4 loads out of here today, out of Lethbridge, 4 bins, 2 pilot cars for each bin. So that's 500-600 feet of vehicles going down that road. So to have safe traffic around that would be extremely beneficial.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I could see that for sure. Cause I was trying to do quick math in my head, but that's a big opportunity for sure. All right. So Gordon, this is a super important question as well. So if you could deliver one message to provincial decision makers, what would it be?
Our message is been pretty consistent to them, and it's although it has evolved, it's always been about safety. Twinning Highway 3 will save lives. Twinning Highway 3 will reduce collisions. Twinning Highway 3 will cost a lot of money, but it will pay. It will pay big time for industry, for individuals, and certainly for the provincial government. The payback will be there. One study we did was 3-to-1 return on money they spent. So that's our message. It's pretty steady. And I would add, when they announced in 2020 that they were committing to doing this, we said that's great, but our association is going to stay active and keep pushing until the last bit of pavement goes down.
So, Brad, I'm going to ask you the same question, but a little differently. So, as you know, AMTA works very closely with government. From a carrier perspective, would you also have a message for provincial decision makers in regards to getting this highway completed?
I think some of it, along with the economic drivers, is the intangible benefits, the chance that we would have the economics to build the infrastructure, to look at some of the alternative fuels, some of the environmental benefits, not just the safety benefits that we could have in this corridor. I made the comment earlier about Calgary and Edmonton, but yeah, that's been the testing ground, whereas this would be better possibilities of testing both alternative fuels, different combinations, extended length, etc., that we're not necessarily doing right now, and giving us a better proving ground to get that overall benefit that we can't even measure at this time.
Awesome. Great answer. All right. So I'm going to wind it down. I will stay with you, Brad. Is there anything that you would like to add on today's conversation?
Well, I drive Highway 3 all the time. My family, my friends do, employees, co-workers. This is personal to me. My cousin lost her husband on the road. If the highway was twinned at that time, it may not have helped, but it certainly wouldn't have hurt. I also I mentioned school buses earlier. We want to grow the economy. We want to improve the flow of our products, but we also want to make sure that we're all safe doing so. And this would definitely benefit that.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Brad. And Gordon, anything you would like to add on today's chat?
Well, pretty much exactly what Brad said. We want everybody that gets in their vehicle and heads down that highway to get there safely and get home safely. That's so important. And we just want to keep giving the government good reasons to do it, both on the safety side and the financial side.
Amazing. Thank you, Gordon. And Josh, anything on your end?
Just thanks for the opportunity. And yeah, I'm grateful to see the collaboration between multiple associations, provincial governments, and just key stakeholders that are really benefiting from the work being done. So thank you.
Gordon, Brad, Josh, thank you all so much for sharing your knowledge and time today. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Once again, a final thank you to our guests. Let's close with some quick news. A quick note that AMTA will release its 2027 course calendar at the end of September, and effective September 28th, government-issued photo ID will be verified at the start of all online and in-person classes, and webcams will be required to be turned on for online instructor-led courses. Do you have any questions or comments about the Steering Change episodes, especially today's? Please do reach out on our Instagram at AMTA_CA or LinkedIn and Facebook at Alberta Motor Transport Association. Stay safe and see you next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of AMTA's Steering Change podcast. The views expressed by guests of the Steering Change podcast are their own and may not reflect the views of AMTA, its hosts, or sponsors. Did you have a question that you would like answered on an upcoming episode of the Steering Change podcast? We want to hear from you. To submit a question to the Steering Change mailbag, hit up our DMs on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram with the hashtag Steering Change, and your question will be answered either live on the podcast or by one of our SMEs here at AMTA. We ask that you share this episode with those in your network that could benefit from what we discussed today, and make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform so you can be notified when future episodes are released. You can learn more about us and our mission by visiting www.amta.ca. Now get out there and have a safe day.